Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome to another episode of Tea and Coffee with Paula and
Crazy Jay. I hope you're all okay. Let's see how I rhymed
Crazy
today.
Jay. Crazy Jay.
I do it for the camera.
What?
Do that for the camera.
No. No.
One of those mornings. Paula has been drinking something. We don't have a liquor cabinet, so I'm not sure what it is. She's in a funky mood today. I like it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, morning, folks. It's good to be back. Thanks for joining us. We had a weird week. We had planned, obviously, we were doing our screenings in Manitoba, and I say we because that was the initial plan. And then right before we were due to leave, we, as in the boys and I, got sick. And we're like, yeah, we're not doing that drive there and back and risking getting Jason sick as well. And so he went by himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I didn't get sick. So you guys didn't pass on what you had, so it was good.
Yeah.
Manitoba was a great showing, like really great showings there. Enjoyed seeing everybody out there. It's nice to know that there's fans all over Canada that are paying attention to what's going on to the business of Sean Hartman's story and watch the show as well. Had a quick conversation with some of them, and I asked them, does it bother you that we do a lot of Alberta topics? And they're like, oh, absolutely not. We want to make sure we know what's going on all over the place. So they appreciate the show, even in Manitoba.
Yeah. And it's been good to hear that feedback and seeing all the comments online for people who attended. And I even saw a comment online, but someone wasn't in Manitoba, but they said, yeah, they've seen the documentary twice. And they're looking forward to, I think they were coming out to the Edmonton one as well to make it a third time. So people are whenever people come out of the screening, I don't like to use the term, did you enjoy it? I said, did you take something from it? What did you think of it? Because it's not really something to enjoy per se. But no, people do take a lot out of it and they appreciate the effort that was put in. So good job to you and Dean putting it together. And yes, and of course, hearing more heartbreaking stories. But more, for me, like I said, I take out of it all the medical information that's presented that is now, factual and is out there. And I appreciate that information being put out to the public.
Yeah, daily we're getting more and more proof of what we thought and said and observed and researched is accurate, very accurate. This is one of those documentaries that gets more and more accurate each week that goes by because it's all peer-reviewed scientific testimonials from doctors, licensed doctors. But even those peer reviews are expanding. There's a lot more coming out. In one of the posts today, I think we might be able to get to it. We'll see. Confirmed it even more out of Dr. McCullough. But I really enjoyed all the people out in Manitoba. Special shout out to Ken Drysdale for being part of the Q&A. I really appreciate that. What a great man. Backed by a wonderful woman, Rosalie. To all those that were in Selkirk, lucky enough to get a free CD of hers. Enjoy it.
Oh, nice. Yes, because she's a musician.
She is. And another special thanks to Andrew for donating the venue in Winnipeg and Chris for donating the venue in Selkirk. That goes a long way when it comes to helping Dan out. So I appreciate all that.
Yeah, it certainly does, because any expenses that's taken care of, then the rest just goes to Dan. So we're definitely appreciative of those who donate larger sums such as venue costs. That's appreciated. Like I said, it goes a long way.
And to the anonymous donor, we'll keep this one anonymous. Thanks for the flight as well. Really appreciate that. That was fantastic. Because last minute, like you said, was they were sick. We were going to drive through Regina and go after the Calgary event. That was the plan. Monday, Calgary, drive through Regina, get Winnipeg Wednesday with you guys. But first thing in the morning, you were sick. I'm like, oh no, can't do that because if I'm stuck in the vehicle with you guys, I'm going to catch it.
Will. Yeah. And
so quick change of plans. I went by myself, and then we had the WestJet tickets donated.
Yeah, and the whole point of the driving is that we could share the driving, because the leg coming home would have been Selkirk and near enough trying to come home straight to Edmonton. So yeah, it would have been difficult for you to do that drive and then do the Edmonton event. And so it's like, we had to fly. Well, you had to fly, and yes, thank you very much to the donor of that, because that helped out.
Fantastic. We got great people out there.
Yeah, there are.
And it is tough to say, I hope you enjoyed it, but I hope you like it. A lot of people absolutely say they like it. It was powerful. I reminded them of what was going on. It was one comment out of Todd from Winnipeg Alt Media. He came out to see it in Winnipeg. he said, it's amazing how much information is packed into the hour.
Mhm.
And it doesn't feel like an hour. It goes by so quickly. But there's so much there. There's no pauses. There's no slow spots.
Mhm.
It just keeps going. And it doesn't overwhelm people. So I'm really pleased at how it's turning out and the comments we're getting.
Yeah, I'd agree. I would give that feedback too. Yeah, it's because we've, as you know, you've watched it numerous times
Mm.
now. I've watched it a little bit less than you, and it's like, yeah, no, there's never a type of spot in it. Unfortunately, fortunately, because at the end of the day, but there is jam packed full of information, but not overwhelming, because then it's easier for you to process and comprehend, and then therefore understand and share out. So,
And another thank you to Landmark Cinemas
Mhm.
for allowing us to, rent a screen and show it. Unlike Cineplex, who said no after we went through weeks. It was actually maybe a month and a half worth of negotiations to book 6 venues is what we're working on. Those would have been Surrey Namino. How do you say it?
I know the dessert.
No. Is it the dessert?
I think so. Yes, the same spelling of was it Namino bars.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that one on Vancouver Island.
Mhm.
We were looking at Saskatoon, Regina, Winnipeg. What was this? Oh, no, not Winnipeg.
Swift Current.
Nope, not Swift Current. Red Deer and Lethbridge. Those were the 6 that we were booking with Cineplex. Because quite frankly, the private screening price is reasonable, $400 an hour, which would have been just fine because we are an hour. We even had 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after. There's going to be a table. They're going to give us a coupon for concessions so that the guests can go ahead and get a bit of a discount on their popcorn and drinks. Everything was worked out all the way to picking the times and then put in the request, and HQ shut it down. So to all the low IQ people who don't know what they're talking about, we weren't trying to force Cineplex to screen our movie in any way, shape, or form. We were renting a private screen. They offer that service. It's $400 an hour. And that's where it got shut down. And as you may recall, they said all locations in Canada. So we can't even try anywhere. And they did admit that it was the potential subject matter because they never saw it. They never actually watched the documentary. So they assume what it's about. And that's what they banned it on. So boo on Cineplex. But there's a guy in Winnipeg who protested at the Cineplex.
Yeah, bless him.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But I just wanted to clarify that because there's a lot of people saying, oh, they're a business. They can do whatever they want. Sure. They can, and they did. We certainly weren't trying to force them. We were renting the screens. They offer that. But we did have somebody do some research, and the asset management company that owns Cineplex, large majority, or not necessarily majority, but a large shareholder is Brookfield.
Yes.
So the part of the system, the cogs, the wheels that turn that decide that Disney can go ahead and indoctrinate your children, but we can't tell a true story about
the young man who
Sean
died.
Hartman. Yeah.
Exactly. And also good morning to Shauna Carol in the chat. Thank you very much for participating in the documentary as well.
And good morning to Berta Proud Dad, my friend. Great hanging out with you. That would have been Saturday in Mirror. It was awesome. I really like him. His wife's amazing too. So many people showed up. It was packed. It was not a place to visit Chris because Chris was busy flipping burgers and cooking steaks and getting that pig roast done. But it was awesome to see so many people show up in Mirror after the little convoy from Calgary, Red Deer, and Edmonton. They all met up in Mirror. Good time. And JJ was there. You couldn't make it. You were exhausted.
Yeah, and Jacob was as well. Like Jacob was very quiet on the drive home, and when we got home, we just went to his room and just chilled for a bit. It was a tuckering. Yeah. It was tuckering.
Well, we had the showing in Edmonton that morning, so we were up early getting all that stuff going, and then did the showing. And then I'm like, oh, no, I gotta go. I gotta go see my peeps. And it was awesome. And JJ's like, yeah, I want to come too. So like we jumped in the car and went down there.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying seeing you guys have your man time together. Some father-son time, even just one-on-one with the two of you. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's kind of replacing you on journeys because he'll come with me. Like he went to Medicine Hat with me, and he's even said he would come on our next leg of the tours, which is starting today in Drumheller. He's like, yeah, I'll come with you. And then the whole family's coming, so that's great.
Yeah, we'll be there. And yeah, looking forward to it. And yes, Pietro, I missed seeing you in Calgary, but we will be back on Thursday. So hopefully you and the lovely wife can come out to our Alberta Independence Talk Tour.
Alberta Independence Talk Talk
Tour.
Talk Tour. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Oh,
for goodness.
Jacob does it.
Yeah, so for those of you who do not know, well, okay, so when I first came to Canada many moons ago, I was young and in my 20s. And when you
Great days, by the way. Great days.
And when you're socializing, you're meeting Canadians for the first time. Oh, can you, or however you guys would say it with your accent, can you say
water,
and then a bottle of water? And so I would say bottle of water. So
no, she's changed. She's been more Canadianized since her 20s. No, it's not water.
No, and then so I said, no, say it to say like a real Englishman. So like, what? Bottle of water.
Mm-hmm.
And so my children, the loves of my life, mock me. And so Jacob, even when he's still, working on his speech development, will still say, bottle of water. And he was doing that.
It's lovely.
He was doing that all day yesterday. And so, it makes us smile and laugh.
We love this woman. We're pulling her pigtails. We're making fun of her. We're having fun with her. And it's cute hearing Jacob just out of the blue. Boa.
Yes. My children are great.
They're
hilarious.
They'll be with us on tour as well. So some of you have already met them. JJ is a star of Saturday for sure. People love him. Mm-hmm. And it was great to see so many people. I did meet a woman whose brother is injured. So some prayers were being sent out to him. And so many good people. It's really cool to see someone walking and go, oh, Alberta Proud Dad, I love you. They come over and give him a big hug and try and get a picture, or does get a picture with them. And it's pretty cool. And no, it does not annoy anybody. We're sitting there having a chat. Come on up and say hi. We do this to reach out to all of you. So when you are wanting to reach out, do it. It's fabulous and it's fantastic. So great to see everybody there. Also, John, Alberta Patriot, was there. I met Mr. Alberta for the first time, and Al space Burton. That's what he goes by. He was there as well with his wife. It's really good to see so many familiar faces and brand new faces as well. So I'm really, really enjoying those meetups. And I think 500 signatures were collected.
Excellent.
So that's really, really good for this late stage of the game to still be able to collect that many signatures. So great job to everybody on Saturday. Yeah,
because potentially D-Day's coming up beginning of April 7th. So we're trying to collect as many as we can and also then get them in the hands of Mitch as well.
Yeah, we can call it I-Day for Injunction Day. We'll see what comes out of that. Or D-Day for Decision Day. But cool. Well, welcome everybody. So we do plan on doing the show all week this week because there's no flights. There's going to be less interruption in the morning. We can kind of schedule the tour and still do our morning show. So we do plan to do that from the road and bring it to you. Yeah,
slightly different setup, but we'll be on the road.
I won't be able to hide her. We'll be on the same screen.
Yes.
We'll be more like this shot than these ones.
Yes. Excellent. And then Jason, you met Gary who sent you the honey. Yes.
Gary, GB, he's an awesome guy. Met him in Calgary. There was this little crew of the Levine Show lovers, I guess we can start to call them, because they love the show.
Lovers of the
They love the show. They will go out of the way to watch it in the morning. And a lot of comments, even in Manitoba. I miss you in the morning. You start my day. I get up to you, and I can't wait for you to be back. Well, hey, we're back.
Yeah, we have a sweetheart. Every time we're not on in the morning, she'll send a message like, is everything okay? And we're like, we sent a notification out, or we said last week, like we were away for the week. She says, okay, just checking because I start my mornings with you.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
LF, thank you very much for your always reaching out.
Yeah, and thanks to all the new subscribers of our locals. Appreciate that. That helps keep the lights on. And if we have to fiddle with the light to get it to work, we have to do that. We are in a shed in the middle of nowhere, and we run on batteries here. So sometimes Paula has to get me to reach and fix things, but it works.
Yes. Yeah. My set of lights were giving us grief this morning, and the whole tap, tap, tap for me wasn't working. So it worked for you.
Called in your tall guy. Get up there and reach it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into some of the news. It's been a week. Can't go back to the very beginning because there's a lot of stuff, but we'll try and catch up.
Yep.
So here we go. So Eric Bouchard, congratulations. So he's an MLA. He's one of the good ones. And he called out Alberta NDP leader Nenshi for labeling ivermectin crackery when people used it to treat COVID, but acknowledged its benefits for Nenshi himself when he used it. So he had some issues, not even clear to me what he had, but it works for him. It's working for him. That's good news. We're very pleased that he's healing and getting better. It's time Nenshi saves face because it was an issue with his face, and admits ivermectin is actually very safe and effective. This comes out in a documentary. There's a lot of research, over 40 years for this. And there's more coming out even today, or maybe late yesterday, that ivermectin absolutely is safe and effective and can help you. So we'll get into some more of those details. And notice that we're still on YouTube. They didn't cancel the stream right now for saying that.
Yeah.
There was a time where they would have.
A year ago, we wouldn't have been able to say it.
Yep. So Winnipeg, thanks a lot. It was awesome to see you all. I really, really appreciated Manitoba. The people that came out there, really wanted to see this. We're really thankful that we traveled, very hospitable. Even the venues were very welcoming. The one in Selkirk is beautiful. Like, it's a converted church, and it saved the building and turned it into a theater. It's beautiful. And then the people that showed out there, just as beautiful as well. So thanks to everybody from Winnipeg and the Selkirk area. We had a larger showing in Selkirk, which was interesting because Winnipeg's a much larger market, but it's NDP ground as well. So, and there may be one more showing in the Winnipeg area before we wrap up the private screenings. So if you missed it and you want to see it there, and it always breaks my heart when I get a request a screening from a location that I'm literally looking in the rearview mirror at, like, oh, we just did that yesterday. Like, if you poked around yesterday, you would have saw it. We'll do our best to try and hit all the major markets one more time for the private screenings to get it all to you. So Winnipeg, thank you very much. And a big shout out to NCI as well. They're good people. But Ken, thanks a bunch for being part of both Q&As.
Yes.
So the meme police are here in Canada. You probably saw this last week. There's a woman who posted online talking about going, I think something along the lines of, I'm coming for you. And that was enough to get the police at her door. So coming for Carney, I believe it was. She could be talking about an election. She could be talking about a protest. She could be talking about a whole bunch of things. She didn't actually say any violence, didn't threaten him of violence in any way, shape, or form. But here they are. So one thing to really realize is, do you think you're anonymous online? Not a chance.
Nope.
Not a chance. It takes them no time to figure out who you are, where you live, and pop up at your door. So what was being highlighted here by me was over 12,000 people have been arrested and charged for their online posts in the UK. Canada, you're foolish if you think it won't happen here. Bill C9 will make disliking the establishment to be defined as hate. And like this officer said, you will be charged. So he threatened this woman that if you do stuff like that again, we'll be back to charge you. So the intimidation starting, and then the charges are going to be right behind those, especially if Bill C9 passes. As we continue here, I got this photograph from our good insider, Councillor Glenn Gunderson.
Yep.
Yeah, he was at the RMA, which is the Regional Municipalities Association of Alberta, and they were doing their AGM where they had their vote, and they voted, what was that, 92.53% in favor of urgent reform to Canadian Food Inspection Agency, so CFIA, you may remember them from their ostrich days, and Pest Management Regulatory Agency, PMRA, because Alberta is pushing back on these regulations. They're killing cattle and chickens, and they're ruining farms because they're coming in and saying there's a risk, and they have no checks and balances. And now that the Supreme Court did not listen or hear the ostrich farm case, that's made it even more difficult for anybody as a farmer that has to deal with CFIA to push back and appeal and get a different decision, or even be able to provide their own evidence. Thank you very much to Glenn for passing that on, and good job with the RMA on standing up for that. This is something that during the ostrich thing, Glenn reached out to me, had me present at the Agricultural Board for Brazeau County, and Brazeau County the board unanimously passed a recommendation for the CFA not to call the birds, to go ahead and do some more testing and research with them. Unfortunately, as we all know, the CFIA ignored all calls from people to take a pause on what they're doing. But thanks very much to Glenn. He's been very active on this too.
Yeah, good guy.
So Blair reached out to me. Blair Ector reached out to me when he received notice that the Government of Canada is going to ask the Supreme Court for leave to go ahead and listen to their arguments on why they should overturn this 2 times now decision that the Emergency Act invocation was improper, illegal. I'm sure you're all aware of this by now, but of course, they're going to use, well, why not? When you think about it, it's not their money.
Correct.
What do they got to lose? And it's not like anything's going to happen. So if it's upheld by the Supreme Court, you're not going to see Trudeau in cuffs. It's not the way this works at all. And I guarantee you that if Carney or another prime minister decides to invoke it, they're just going to invoke it. It doesn't matter what the other one had, because they're always going to have the arguments that this situation is different. So really, this will be good for, yes, it wasn't illegal. Yes, now the Supreme Court agrees with you. And they can agree by not listening or not having it, so not accepting the leave, which means there will be no appeal in front of the Supreme Court, but it ends, like we saw with the ostriches, or they will hear it and decide in favor of Canadians on this one. Yeah. But that cost to Canadians are going to continue, both on the government side and on the they're going to be the respondent now. So the government's the applicant on this. The respondent under Blair and Bathsheba Vandenberg too, who's a part of this, going to have to put the hours in and clock some of that time. And Canadians are paying both sides of this one.
Yes.
So, but good job on Blair and Bathsheba for keeping that fight going and getting ready for it. Being called to the Supreme Court to present is a big deal, and I do think it's unfortunate it has to go there, but let's get a final answer. We'll see that's happening soon.
And I agree with our locals chat. When we become independent, we need to eliminate these kind of powers.
Well, we won't be under the Supreme Court of Canada. Okay, that's a first step on that one for sure. There needs to be a judiciary that does make decisions, because how do you handle disputes without them? But we need to have elected and term limited, and we need to have accountability. Like Chief Justice Wagner should be recused because he already came out with comments against the convoy in Ottawa, and Bruce Party and many others have highlighted that. I think it's one of the posts coming up. But I also wanted to call out David Eby here. He put up a post saying, hey, Donald Trump's loss is BC's gain. We've hired over 400 U.S. healthcare workers in the last year through our targeted recruitment campaign. Yeah, this is not a flex or Eby. Let's not forget the headlines under the BC government. Nurses who refuse COVID vaccine loses a fight with their union. The Labour Board rules that BCNU had the right to negotiate a settlement for workers forced off the job. So what are you actually doing? You're actually filling the void you created by getting rid of good BC-based Canadians who were working for you. You got rid of them, and now you're actually saying, look, we're importing people across the border to fill the jobs that we got rid of. Cool. So I had to call him out here. I'm like, you're a liar. You're replacing BC nurses that were fired when they stood up during COVID with out-of-profits nurses. You should have hired them back with full back pay. Instead, you are forced to import. Do you even know what the truth is anymore? And I provided a link to the article about BC firing their nurses and not taking them back.
Yeah.
Gross. So gross. So gross.
So gross.
And then Dan here posted, Winnipeg, it's your turn. It was a really good showing. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. And keep in mind, if you show up to any of these, you're more than welcome. In fact, you're highly encouraged to stream the Q&A portion. Not the film, but the Q&A comes after the film. And Dan always finds them because he loves to watch them. So if you're at one of the screens coming up, whether it's Ontario today in Ottawa, or at any of my Alberta or Saskatchewan or BC ones that are coming up, you are welcome to stream, even live stream, the Q&A, and Dan watches them. So I always get a note from him like, oh, I was watching, and I love this question. Or sometimes he doesn't like all the questions or comments, but he shares them. So thank you very much to everybody that does that. Mia Hughes, if you're around April 24th in the Toronto area, come and join at this event. It's about the Bill 16, rights protection or compelled speech. So go check out her event. And I'm flying. Every time I fly WestJet, I appreciate Porter Airlines even more. Heading to Manitoba now. Join us tonight. And what I mean by that is just so tight, like so packed in there. No leg room. And I've got long ones.
Yeah, Bolton needs to add more flights from Alberta to Winnipeg, because that was why you flew WestJet, is because there wasn't
Porter.
any.
Yeah. So we're not going to be upset with Porter too much, but yeah, there's just, I'm tall.
You are.
I'm tall. And
You got long legs.
I got long legs. And it gets uncomfortable. And then here we go with the Emergency Act appeal out of the JCCF itself, talking about it. And then my comment here is, when you have unlimited taxpayer money and you already lost twice, I'm not surprised at all that the government would seek leave from the Supreme Court of Canada. The horrible part, even if they lose again, nothing will change. Trudeau and team won't be arrested for breaking the law. Yeah, it doesn't work that way at all, sadly. All right, so as I arrived in Winnipeg, there's this big billboard in the airport, and it's accurate. Like, there's nothing inaccurate about this. I wasn't surprised to see it. It's really good to see these kind of billboards, but it's from the Manitoba First Nation Indigenous people, and the headline here is "End Legislated Discrimination." The Indian Act's second generation cutoff erases First Nations identity. Act now. Call your member of parliament. Correct. The Indian Act itself is legislated discrimination. So I had to applaud this one. But then I also had to point out something. So this is in the Winnipeg airport. If Manitoba First Nations understands that the Indian Act is legislated discrimination, why are Alberta First Nations fighting to keep it? Alberta independence is a path for everyone in Alberta to finally be free of Ottawa's discrimination. So it's kind of like tone deaf here in Alberta. Yeah. They're not even lining up with the Manitoba Indigenous First Nations, because they're correct in Manitoba. This is legalized discrimination. And then shortly after that, it came out that the election of the new national chief of the Assemblies of First Nation is being very clear that Canada, we're coming for you. By the way, it's the same comment that lady received the police at her door for, Carney, coming for you. But either case, the First Nations new chief is highlighting that Canada is the problem. And things like, surprise. They're correct. This is correct. So why is Alberta so off the mark on this one? We know.
Well, we know. Are not, but
Alberta First Nation chiefs. So I highlight here more proof that it's only Alberta First Nation chiefs who don't admit where the problem truly is, Ottawa. Why are they trying to convince the Alberta courts, legislature, and now the monarch to keep the status quo, while the National Assembly of First Nations is fighting them? Because they want those envelopes to keep coming. So they're completely out of step with even the National Assembly of First Nations. They're out of step with the Manitoba First Nations. They just can't handle the truth. We know the truth. So to all the First Nations members, the treaty natives and Indians, they know the truth. Yeah. They fully know the truth. It's just the ones that the CBC puts in front of the cameras that make the loudest noise. They don't represent everybody in Alberta, and independence is the path forward for all people to have self-determination and prosperous future. So I wanted to point out that hypocrisy. And the last one before I go to our guest, I got special treatment in Edmonton. First, I got pulled out of the line for random security. Okay, that happens with me. I don't know, the tall thing. I don't know if there's a cutoff height or something. But they pulled me over, and no problems, of course. And then when I get to Winnipeg, I open up my luggage, and there's this notice here that they searched my bag. So notification of checked baggage inspection. And then I realized later they broke my lock to do this.
Which they shouldn't have done, because the type of luggage we have has one of those locks that they can open.
Actually, I don't think it does. It doesn't have the key. But they broke in. What I think they need to do, and this should be part of the law, is they need to explain why they decided to open your bag. Because all that was in there was clothes, books, DVDs, and USBs.
Yep.
Nothing else of oddity at all. A brush, a toothbrush, and a hairbrush. Okay.
Yep.
So I think they should actually explain what's a reasonable and probable cause to go ahead and open your bag. And part of the explanation should be there. No, it's not. It just says we didn't take anything out. Have a good day. Enjoy your broken luggage now. So yeah, I guess a special treatment, both of them on my way out of Edmonton. I wonder if I'm on a list. What do you think?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe.
Who knows? Well, maybe my guests know. So we've got Marty up north, Martin Belanger, and we got John Bolton. John says he can't hear us, so he's going to have to reconnect. Marty, can you hear us? Yep. Yeah. So Marty, so sometimes StreamYard does that, John. So he's giving me the 1 minute thing. Okay, so Marty, let's just jump into you. First of all, welcome back to the show. I really enjoyed
Morning, guys.
And I got to tell you, I'm a little jealous because you're now part of Western Standards team and you do a show with them too.
Good stuff.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you're jealous because I get checked out by CSIS all the time.
I'm going to enjoy hanging out with you in the Gulag, man. I think there's going to be a few of us that are going to be together in that thing.
What's going to get us there first, right? I think what's going to get us there first is probably one of our posts or one of our tweets, right? Some social comment will get us arrested. I'm sure of that. In a room of 10 of my friends, influencers, 2 or 3 of us are going to get in trouble for a comment online because of these new laws.
Yeah, you're not going to know which comment it is because when you speak the truth, and that's what you're wired to do, and you're a fact-based guy, the truth itself can be what gets you in trouble. We saw that with Barry Neufeld, $750,000 out of the human rights in BC. We know some people here in Alberta going through this as well. Billboard Chris has now been notified. They complained against him. Even the Western Standard got a complaint against them for calling a male a man. Go figure.
Yeah. So
John,
first,
do you have
sorry.
audio now?
I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah. It sounds like you got our audio now, so you're good. Go ahead, Marty.
So thanks for the Western Standard comment. Appreciate that. It's a mutually beneficial. So Derek and I are, supporting each other, and I'm happy to do so. But I just wanted to come back real quick to your airport experience. It is freaky, right? I mean, I've had similar freaky events constantly in the last 2 months, now 3 months, and too many of them to be coincidences, right? It's not just a coincidence. We are being surveyed.
Come on.
And in the case of yours, unfortunately, I think when we get on a plane and you buy that ticket, you kind of are agreeing to be searched without having to provide a cause or
something.
Probable cause. Yeah. And I suspect that the airport guys have almost as much power as, who has a lot of power in this country that really scares me? It's the border guys, right? The CBSA has almost the unlimited power. I mean, they don't need a reason to check anything, but because of what their job is, you're coming into the country. But I think the airport guys are sort of creeping up against them and having equally huge amounts of power.
Sure, and you're correct on the legal front. Yeah, they don't even need to tell you, but it would be nice if they did. If they said something like checked off a box and said we had suspicion of contraband or something like that. Maybe I had copies of a DVD that's not allowed. That's why they opened it up. Maybe something along those lines, just to give me a little bit more comfort on. Well, okay, I agree with you. This is why you open my bag. I get it, but because there's no problem in there, I don't feel like. I was targeted for what was in the bag. I actually think I'm targeted because I might be on a list, so they just give you extra treatment. But that's a suspicion. That's not proven as fact. Good morning, John. Thanks a lot for reconnecting because sometimes StreamYard doesn't give you the audio, but I appreciate you being here. Oops, I pushed the button here. And thanks for joining us this morning. Nice to see you Saturday. So you were one of the voices and hands I got to shake for the first time in Muir.
It was great to see you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you.
Good stuff. Yeah, no, it's good to see you as well. I know we've spoken on the channel a number of times, and I think the last time I had you on, I said we've got to meet up sometime. And I was glad to see you there on the weekend to be able to talk to you again, shake your hand as well as Mr. Alberta and Bird Proud Dad. John talking with Albertans was there, and of course Al and Mrs. Al were there who set up the event. So it was wonderful. Good to see Marty as well. It's nice to see Marty. I've met him a couple of times. I'd like to get him on the channel, so maybe we can arrange that in the very near future as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of bringing on voices and people who have their own shows because we kind of need to get more of us out there and we need to work together because we're against a $1.4 billion propaganda machine out of the CBC, plus the others. When you group in Global and CTV and the rest, it's a large amount of propaganda that we're up against. So really appreciate both you guys for what you're doing. Marty, thanks a lot for saying yes. Last minute too, we changed the schedule on you to jump on a tour with us across Alberta. We're hitting 5 cities in 5 days. So this should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it almost feels like back in my hockey days. Those are all towns. I played, but in the last 20 years, I coached AA teams, and all the towns we're hitting were favorite spots. It literally feels like I'm going on a hockey tournament or on a hockey road trip. No, thanks for inviting me. I've been canvassing hard on the side of the road, literally for the last several weeks, and now I feel that my voice, our voices, is we serve the movement better by educating people. I mean, there's enough volunteers now that are collecting signatures. But I'm finding that there's still a huge portion of the population that is completely unaware of what's going on around them. I mean, they watch the CBC and CTV, and that's their only source of news is that. If that's your only source of news, you have no idea that there's an independence movement growing in this province. We're not getting any support from the CBC. So that's why I'm glad to join you, Jason, because we need to keep spreading this word.
Excellent. Yep. So yeah, Marty's joined with his magnificent beard. So you'll be able to find us in 5 stops. We got Tanya Clemmings as well, who's a farmer in the Calgary area, Southern Alberta area. We've got Fergus Hodgson, who's fantastic when it comes to the numbers of the pension plan, the taxation. He's written a couple books on this, so he speaks well to that. We've got Angela Tabak, who's fantastic when speaking to the concerns specifically that women have with the uncertainty of what's going to happen. I won't speak for all women, but my wife certainly lets me know that she prefers to know what's going to happen and what's going to go on. She wants some certainty and security. Yeah. So Angela has a good talk on that. And then myself, I'll be the host and bring in the Q&A to everybody. By all means, bring out your questions and and this isn't a yes side only type of conversation. This is let's talk. So be very clear on that. So Monday today, we're going to be at the Badlands Community Facility in Drumheller. Starts at 6 p.m. there. Doors open at 6 p.m. and then we'll get started about 6:30 with the talks. Tuesday, we're going to be at the Radisson Hotel, Edmonton Airport in Leduc. 7 p.m. the doors open there. Wednesday, we're going to be in Red Deer at Westerner Park?
Yes.
Westerner Park at 7 p.m. Calgary at the Glenmore Inn and Convention Center at 7 p.m. And then finally, we're going to end up Friday in Lethbridge at the Nest Events and Meeting Rooms at 7 p.m. So if you can make it out to any of those, it'd be great to see you and bring your questions. And everybody is welcome. Absolutely everybody is welcome. And it's free. So you can just come. You don't have to pay a dime. You don't have to register. Just come, fill in a seat and bring your questions. So John, you were part of the convoy on Saturday. You came up from Calgary. There was 4 stops on your way to Muir, meeting the community, seeing people. They were coming out with their smiles and support. What was that like for you on a Saturday? Rainy too, right? A little rainy and snowy?
Well, when I left my house on Saturday morning, it was pretty snowy, actually. We were getting some accumulation. It was wet, it was damp, it was cold. It was about 3 degrees out there. And we went to Innisfail, Elnora, what was the other places? 3 Hills, and got all the way up to a Mirror eventually. It was an outstanding day. About 500 signatures were gathered. You know, I was just hearing what Marty had to say there. He's been out there, I think, up on Crowchild Trail here in Calgary a lot, and he's out there pretty much every day. But he was talking about people not understanding what's going on right now. You know, we're pretty clued in. We try to follow the news as much as possible. But what I heard on the weekend, which was fascinating, and I was thinking back to a dinner I was at a few weeks ago with some people who were coordinators of canvassers here in Calgary. They'd gone to Cochrane for a training session on going door to door. And they were told by this expert who does this that you're probably going to get a lot of no's or people just turning you away at the door. You might get 1 in 10 people signing if you go door to door. And I think maybe that's the place where we can get more signatures out there. When I was talking to people on the weekend who went into the different communities that we're stopping at for the convoy, a number of them went to door, and they were getting an amazing amount of people signing up at the door. A good percentage of them were signing. And the thing that they were told in Cochrane at the training was, even if you go to the door and they don't sign up, they may not be aware of what's going on, and you pass along the message and they become aware of the independence movement. So yeah, it was a great day on Saturday, going up to Mirror. I'd never been to the Whistle Stop. Meeting you and the rest of the people was an outstanding day. And of course, as well as the signatures, the number one thing for me is I get to say hi to people. I just had a great time meeting people and shaking hands. It was an outstanding day. And again, thanks to Mr. and Mrs. L. Burton for setting that up and inviting me along. It was really fun.
It was a lot of fun. And John, you actually kind of touched on it. Everybody was shocked with some of the early numbers coming out of the cities with the door knocking. 60% was some of the early numbers being put out there of people willing to sign. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to be signing this only if you want a yes. You can sign this if you want to know. The whole point of this stage is to make that possible so that the vote can be there. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of the people that are like against it and they want to stay in Canada, they sign it because they want to have their voice heard. And I think that's an important message as well to get out there. Marty, some of the things that you've run into doing your roadside pop-ups, some people aren't so happy. And they're getting pretty aggressive and blocking roads and things like that. You've seen some of that.
Yeah, I actually took a break from. I left my pop up and I took the advertising for it down because it was attracting too many lunatics. Like they were literally coming out for me at this point. And so I moved on. Just to John's point, I was there in Cochrane when we did the training for canvassers. The trainer is Cam Davies, right? So I don't know if you guys know him, but he's the leader of the Alberta Republican Party. And canvassing, door-to-door knocking has been successful. We have a new little formula for doing it. We get teams of 7. We get a truck going down the road, all decked out with the flags, pick the road, go down the middle, and then we have 2 crews on both sides. We have 2 people walking up to the doors, knocking quickly, presenting themselves, explaining why they're there. And if somebody's interested in signing, they turn around and they wave somebody who's standing on the street who comes and collects a signature, and then the 2 people move forward. So we're moving really fast down the road, getting a very high success rate, but it's still a very labor intensive process. Time of days and neighborhood make a big difference. You know, if you start hitting a neighborhood and it's just not biting, then move on to another neighborhood. It's to me, I do it as a sport now. Canvassing, you gotta do something to make it fun, right? And we challenge ourselves, and I truly really view it as fishing some days, right? Like you got your lures and your bait and your hole and the time of day, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, just go drill a new hole somewhere. So yeah.
I was gonna say it's like hunting for you. Like, where can we go? Where can we find the big bucks? But fishing is another one. But once you fished it, you can't really go back. You kind of took all the good fish out. So
there's a sense of that. But back to your earlier question, yeah, the lunatics are an unfortunate thing. And I learned a lot about that, right? I'm mistaken, like a lot of other canvassers. I mean, I wish I had my badge here. I don't have my badge, but my badge as a canvasser has that big Elections Alberta logo in the corner. And we kind of all thought for a while that we were following their rule, but by also following their rule, we were in essence maybe protected by Elections Alberta. And Elections Alberta has been completely distancing themselves from us, reminding everyone that there is no extra laws that apply, extra protections as a canvasser. So if somebody comes and harasses us, our only recourse is to call the RCMP or somebody else. And consequently, I think some of the opponents have clued into that, and they're coming out to harass us on purpose, hoping we quote unquote misbehave or get caught on tape doing something, right? So I've changed my stance now. At our event tonight, I'm happy that there will be people that might be on the other side that want to talk. That's great. But at a canvassing event, when I'm purely on the side of the road collecting signatures, at this point, if somebody comes to us and doesn't want to sign, like I'm there to collect signatures, and if I'll ask people, are you here to sign? And they go, no, I got a few questions and I want this. Then I'll take another canvasser and say, you guys can step over to that side and go chat, but not here in front of this table. So we're adjusting a bit. It's unfortunate that it's got that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And you made a really good point there, because Elections Alberta came out with a post and a press release basically saying, yes, there is no extra protection. If it goes too far, the police need to be involved. But that means if you go too far, that means so harassment is kind of allowed. They're almost condoning it. But the reverse is also true, which is you're under more penalties as a canvasser because there's a code of conduct. And if you find yourself in a situation where you're yelling back or swearing or just giving back what you're giving, all your signatures can be tossed out as a canvasser. So there's actual a penalty that they came out and was very clear about against the canvassers, not against the public.
Yeah.
Which again, yes, and I've commented on that several times. We as citizens, so I'm a citizen trying to let me step back. I mean, to me, petitioning is one of the most basic principles ever, right? I mean, you vote, which is your most basic democratic right, but you vote every 4 years. So if in between your 4 years, you're unhappy with the direction the government's taking, you can petition. A petition is simply people collecting signatures. Now, I could collect signatures on any old piece of paper, but the government in this instance says collect them this way on this form using this ink, using whatever, and we're playing by their rules, and it's very frustrating. And this is not a new concept, right? We citizens are held to a higher standard in this instance than I think the politicians were trying to hold accountable. I mean, it's very frustrating that everybody seems that the only people who are held accountable in this country are us individual citizens. The Coots Four, the Tamara Litches, the. Meanwhile, you talked about it. I mean, the Supreme Court's going to hear another appeal of the Emergencies Act decision. And is Justin Trudeau or anybody else ever going to be held accountable? I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. But we warrior on. I guess we got no choice.
Yeah, this is going to taste sweet once we get there, because all the hurdles we had to get through to get there, and we're not done. Like, once the signature phase is done, there's going to be the campaigning for the referendum. There's this whole question about a whole bunch of questions on the referendum. Should it be a single? Anyways, Daniel Smith will be on the show in a couple of weeks. We're going to get right into that. Why are there extra questions? Do you really need them? I think you have your mandate. You can go ahead and do them. So we'll get into that in a couple of weeks. But John, one thing I do want to highlight here is we're not mad at these lunatics. We're not scared. We're not... they're still Albertans. They're still people that we share the grocery stores with. We share the roads with them. So why do you think they're getting so frustrated to the point where they're going to show up with their vehicle license plate exposed, find themselves on camera, just making fools of themselves? What do you think some of the motivation behind that might be?
Well, I asked you that when we were at the Whistle Stop the other day, and you said, they think we're winning, and I had somebody on Saturday come up to us. An older gentleman got out of a car parked right in the middle of the road and started yelling at, or asked us what we were doing. I said, well, we're out here collecting signatures on the petition for Alberta independence. And he had 3 words to say to me, and it was taxes, tariffs, and he mentioned Donald Trump as well. And he started yelling, and some other people that were out there started getting in the guy's face a little bit. I just said, listen, sir, can we come to an agreement on anything when it comes to this issue? He said no. And I said, well, then you have a good day. And we just moved on from that. I just think, here's the thing, and maybe Marty can answer this. Maybe you can answer this. I'm not sure that I asked you, Jason, because I've had him on this channel. But I've asked Mitch Sylvester this. I've asked Jeff Rath this. I've asked Dennis Kalma this. I've had them all on the channel before. And I think the hard thing to get around here, and the most difficult thing we've got to fight when it comes to actually getting people to say yes on this vote, is how do we defeat patriotism? Because that's why these people are mad at us. This is a democratic process. As you said, you can sign the petition, you can vote no on this referendum, so you'll have a voice. Everybody's got that voice. But how do we defeat patriotism? Because that's the number one thing people say to me when I ask them why they're against the independence movement. Well, I love Canada. They're proud of the flag. They're proud to be Canadians. And I think I had that at one time. I lost that a number of years ago, just around 2019. I can remember going to my first independence meeting back then, and I'd only been here about 6 or 7 years at the time. But how do we defeat patriotism? Because that's why I think they're mad at us.
That's a good point, and I'll throw it to Marty, because I think what we're seeing here is... like for media, for me, it was 2012. Media is when I lost trust. It was a whole Mayan calendar. The world's going to end. They were just bombarding us with these meter rates are coming. And this was mainstream media. Yeah. I'm like, that's enough. That's enough. This is just crazy. 9/11 for me was my wake up, but 2012 was my realization that you can't trust the media anymore. And that was a tough pill to swallow, because then you're like, well, have they been lying to me all along? Where do I get the truth? How do I know what's true? Like, there's a big realization. The same thing happens with government and trust. A lot of us probably can pinpoint when we lost that trust in the government. Like, this is what happened for me. At that point, I'm like, I just can't blindly trust you anymore. And a lot of Canadians are having a hard time with that. I've even run into one guy who was part of the Coots situation, not for it, but he's in it. And I said to him, hey, what do you think of the government when it comes to this? I was like, I don't know. And he took the vax. I'm like, why'd you take the vax? Like, well, the government told me to. And then a couple months later, I'm talking to him, and he's a traveler. He goes to the States all the time. He goes down to Arizona. And he goes, listen, I just realized something. the media told me that the U.S. is turning people around. There's extra security. They're making it difficult for Canadians to get to the States. But when I went, it was normal. Everything was normal. Everything was like it has been for decades. I'm like, are you starting to see it now? Are you starting to see how they lie to you on the media? They vilify things. They try to use fear to scare you. He's like, yeah, I get it now. I'm like, okay, so what about this vaccine and crude stuff? He's like, no. I only think they're lying about the border crossing. So he didn't make the step into going, wait a minute, they could be lying about other things. And I think that's a major disconnect cognitively that a lot of Canadians are having trouble. They need to have their wake-up moment. Marty, your thoughts on that?
No, boy, Jason, you're spot on. I mean, so I've had 500 people sign my sheet personally, and I take the time to ask almost everybody why. And if I describe the demographic of who has signed the petition, it's hard to figure out who it is because it is so varied, right? It's blue collar, white collar, government workers, tradespeople, young, old immigrants, old stock Canadians. What do they have in common? I'll say this: what do they have in common? They're critical thinking, open to interpreting facts, and they've come to their own true personal realization that the system doesn't work. So they're critical thinkers, And then on the other side, there's sort of two categories of people who won't sign. One is they're completely lost. I feel sorry for them, but there are people who won't sign. They are completely lost. They are consumed by the virus, and they cannot sign because that would be an admission that everything they've seen in the last 2 decades was wrong. And you know what I mean? They're stuck, and we can't wake them up. They're zombies at this point. And then the other group that won't sign are the ones that are purely nostalgic for a Canada that no longer exists. And same thing, I don't know if we can wake them up. We might be able to wake them up. That's what I keep telling them. You're nostalgic for a Canada that no longer exists. What part of the old Canada, remind me, what do you love? You love the Olympics. You love how we used to be recognized as peacekeepers, blah, blah, blah. And you can still point those out. And they can't see it happening today, right? They're nostalgic for something, and when you keep challenging them on can we go back to that, they're confident that we can go back to that Canada, but they don't know how. So they're scared. They won't sign.
Yeah, and I think there might be a third one that is you can identify those that are dependent on the federal government. So the pensioners and the OSAs, they're scared because they were told by the Forever Canada people, if you go for independence, you're going to lose all of that. That's going to be gone and taken away from you, and you'll never see it again. So the ones that are dependent on Canada as well, you've seen some of those?
I've seen lots of those, but we can win some of those over. The ones that are stuck on the pension, I found the pension the most easiest one to win over, right? It's like, if I could do it more personally with everybody, I'd be like, here, log on. Let's go to mycanada.com and let's go look at your pension statement. First of all, you're getting $700 a month, okay, if you retire tomorrow. So I don't know why you're hung up on that, because it's not a big amount, first of all. So if I could show you your pension, you're going to wake up. And then the second one is meet my mother-in-law, Carmen and Fritz here. They live in Costa Rica and they get their pension. So So what's your concern? Is your concern that you're not going to get your pension? That's not going to happen. Is your concern that your pensions might be smaller under the Alberta government? I highly doubt it. So I can win those over, but it takes a little more time one-on-one.
Great. And that's why I'm glad you're coming out on this tour and we're hitting the cities, because I think we're going to get a lot of people with that particular concern coming out. Yeah. And that's what Fergus will be great as well. He can actually talk the numbers. It's underwater. Canadian pension plan's underwater. 100 billion, 30 billion from the Canadian pension plan, but 100 billion being invested in India, like not Canada.
Actually, you just reminded me, I'm going to bring my I don't collect a pension. I'm only 58, right? I'm retired, but I'm living on but I'm going to bring my pension statement and I'll show it to people that I'm a guy who, when I retire in 2 years from now, I have that piece of paper. It says you're entitled to like $758 a month. I'm like, wow, maximum contribution for 35 years. And this is my government pension. Okay, well, let's fight for that, I guess.
Yeah, and when people talk about if you would have just put it in a normal pension, like a real pension with returns, you would have like 1.5 million at this stage.
Don't even go there. Don't even.
So, John, we had Paula Jay show up on the Joe Rogan show, and he flat out said, Alberta is not going to be independent. He's trying to throw cold water all over it. Some people in our chat are asking, is there something that he knows that we don't? No, I think Poilievre, propaganda Poilievre, is just doing what he does, which is to say things that he thinks, instead of backing it with proof. I think he fully understands this is a real movement. He even announced he's not going to be running in Alberta at the next federal election. I think he fully understands. Alberta is fed up, and even the Conservative Party isn't stepping up. That's a lot of the wake-ups for a lot of people, by the way, Marty. That Alberta proud dad, he was very clear on Saturday. His wake-up moment was floor crossing. When floor crossing happened, he's like, this system's done. Like, I'm out. I'm for independence now. So I think a lot of people may have woke up with Poilievre's showing on Joe Rogan. So thanks. And every time Mark Carney makes an announcement, I think more people sign. But John, what were your thoughts? I don't know if you caught it or not, but what are your thoughts about his comments that Alberta will not be independent?
Well, I watched the whole thing.
Sorry.
Well, no, I thought he was really good. I think they spent too much time talking about fighting, and they talked quite a bit about fighting, probably 40 minutes out of 2.5 hours. I thought he did a good job, but I didn't really realize why, or even understand why he was on there. It really is going to have no effect at all. I mean, within 20 days, there's likely to be a Liberal majority, and he's going to be in the hinterland for the next 4 years as an opposition leader with a Liberal majority, it looks like. Well, I waited and I waited and I waited. And that segment where he talked about Alberta independence, that's never going to happen. And they just moved on from there. But I thought the interview was interesting, and it was, listen, I don't disagree with Pierre Poilievre on a lot of things he said. He wants limited government. I often say on the channel, Ronald Reagan said, the government that is best governs least. I've been like that since I was a kid. I want less government in my life. People ask me, what do you want as a conservative? I want to be left alone. That's what I want, I say. Just leave me alone. I want to be able to keep more of my money. In fact, I met somebody on Saturday, a young girl, 20 years old, Cora in Elnora, that was her name, and she wasn't sure whether to sign. And I said, how'd you like to keep more of your money? But I thought the interview was good. But I don't know how much good it really did for Pierre Poilievre. And the thing is, a lot of people who commented on that said that he did really good. I mean, even Tom Mulcair came out and said it was, good PR basically for Pierre Poilievre. But is it going to be any better with the Conservative government out here in the West? And I know when people say, well, it'll be better, maybe marginally, but there's always a Liberal government around the corner, which drives me crazy. They're called the Natural Ruling Party here in Canada. They've been ruling more than any other government, and they will be back. So I don't see any hope for the West under Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. He has to kowtow to those votes out in Quebec and Ontario, and Alberta with its 34 seats right now. He's concerned about them. He's got to be concerned. If Alberta leaves, there will never be another Conservative government in Canada, because Alberta is the one that's keeping them close to being government right now. They will be gone, and they will be fighting the most against the Alberta independence movement, because we are a danger to their party and a danger to them ever ruling in this country again. That's the way I see it.
No, and that's a fair assessment. That's why I like having you on here, John. You're being fair about what you've seen. Marty, there's a couple more things I want to throw to you on.
Hang on, John made me think of about 3 things.
Sure, go on.
I'll go really, really quick on them, right? When I'm sitting on the side of the road canvassing, I kind of get disconnected from the real world. So I spend 6 hours there, so I don't know what's going on. But then all of a sudden, you'll get a burst of people coming to sign, and I'll jokingly say, okay, what happened, right? And somebody say, oh, didn't you hear there was a floor crossing? Or didn't you hear there was an LNG tanker? Or didn't you hear there was this, right? So some things that happen in Ottawa happen so in real time, and they manifest themselves instantly in people signing. So people are upset. It's crazy. The second thing is back to the general theme of the last minute. There are people now becoming nervous about the movement. It's real, right? So there's been crazy stories. Like there was a story last week on the I think it was the National Post had a story that said, rest of Canada opened a negotiation. There was a story this week saying that, hey, if Canada increases its pipeline capacity, it's good for the GDP. Like really Captain Obvious stories are coming out now, which is, whatever, it proves that we're a growing concern. And the last thing I was going to say is, to the Thomas Lukasik saying nice things about CARE, for instance. pay attention to that, right? The independence movement is creating some really, really, really weird bedfellows. So, that's that. If there is a referendum, when there is a referendum, think about it. Nenshi, Jason Kenney, and Danielle Smith and Thomas Lukasik are going to be on the same team. And now I guess we've just added Pierre to that team. So, wow, like it's going to be really fun in the next few months. Yeah.
For sure. And what I was going to ask you, Marty, was not too long ago, Pierre came out and said his MPs are not bringing to him the Alberta conversation. He was asked about that. He's like, well, actually, nobody's really bringing it to me, and I'm not concerned, and it's not a topic that we're concerned about. I can't believe that. Like, if that's true, then
That's
all the
not true.
Conservative MPs here in Alberta are tone deaf, and they're not paying attention to what their constituents are saying. Because at minimum, 30% of them are in this camp and they want it. At maximum, it could be closer to 50% at this stage. There's no way.
He went even further.
He
went even further, right? He said that there's no separatists in my caucus. Like he went that far, and I'm like, no, I can't believe that. I mean, yeah.
Well, if it's true, then we're not getting representation. And then if it's not true, well, then you're just flat out lying to us. In either case, this doesn't work out good for the CPC when you are looking at your Alberta MPs.
But I think you're the best one of the best spokespeople for this concept. At this point that it's almost becoming a uniparty, and and the whole idea of being elected to represent. I was at a speech. I heard Stockwell Day mention this the other day, a little while ago. Stockwell Day basically said that his father told him when he was going into politics, you're going to learn what instantaneous turnaround means really quickly. And Stockwell wasn't sure what his father was referring to. He's like, right now you think you represent the people. As soon as you get elected, within hours, you represent the party. And Stockwell Day said that how fast that happened blew him away. And we're seeing that all the time. So there's probably some separatist MPs in the CPC caucus, but they're not allowed to speak. Our representatives no longer represent us.
I'm wondering, Marty. I'm just wondering. Yeah, you talk about Stockwell Day. He said the West wants in. I think back in 1987, we're still not in. But I'm wondering this because you brought up you're seeing people come up and say, "Well, we had a floor crosser. Let me sign." What do you think is going to happen if we make it to that Liberal majority? Because we do have this court case that will be in between those by-elections. I tend to think, and I've said, and I've heard other people online on YouTube say, could be one of the greatest things for the independence movement if we have a Liberal majority in the middle of it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, it's good for I have to do the glass half full at this point, because if Carney gets elected, if he gets his majority, look at what he's trying to push right now with a minority. And he's pretty, I think he's a psycho. If he gets his majority, he's going to keep pushing things, right? And so it'd be bad as a Canadian, but good as an Albertan. And let's go back to this, right? The three fundamental rights, as far as I'm concerned, are your vote, the right to petition, but I'm just going to go. Your vote's being taken away, right? Three fundamental rights: the vote, the petition, and free speech. They're all intertwined. That's how you get a good government. They've taken away the vote, and people go, "How have they taken away our vote?" Floor crossings. When a floor crossing by definition is somebody nullifying your vote. I voted for you to represent me in this party, and now you've gone over there, so you've nullified my vote. Petition. The courts here in Alberta are about to perhaps rule and take away my right to petition. Let that thing sink in, right? That's crazy, again, because of the First Nations. And then free speech, which is essential. And look at how much of our free speech has been eroded, right? With C9 and C2, not C2, 263 and a whole bunch of other ones. So no, like our democracy is being completely attacked. And anybody who still denies that it's happening is living in a complete fantasy world.
You're right. And John, I want to actually come to you about that one for the April 7th injunction. So the way the injunction application was written, it was to stop the signature stage. And if the signature stage is successful, even before that to date, that becomes a moot argument. But Marty absolutely nails it. If the court, via an injunction application, can stop a legal, duly allowed process like petition signature gathering, where's the democracy now? Like, does it exist? I'm actually very hopeful that the court will not do that. They will not intervene with that. Leave it to the people for the vote. But if they do, I think that's going to send a big shockwave to a lot of Albertans. The system's rigged against you. There is no system. Democracy is an illusion.
Yeah, what voice do you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what happens next if they do that with the petition signing? Then we have another injunction regarding a question in October, perhaps. And then, how long will it be before we ever get through that process if we go into that about it being constitutional or whatnot, because the Indigenous people will likely do that. I'm thinking that might come down the road. Then we get into next year, there's an election, there won't be a referendum question on independence next year. So this could be pushed back for years. It scares me what's going on with that case. It certainly does. But we know what the past says when it comes to this issue. I was at the Alberta legislature last May. We had a little bit of an independence get together there. Jeevan Mangad from the Wild Rose Independence Party invited me to go out to that. And I remember we booked the legislature steps, and the group before us had to leave, and we got up there, and there was a group of Indigenous people off to the side with a microphone screaming and yelling into a microphone. All the way through the event we had. And nobody came over to tell them to leave, which they were supposed to do. And somebody said, why won't they leave? Why won't somebody make them leave? I said, there's not an official in this country that'll walk over there and tell them to get off that property. There's not one. So I'm not optimistic about what's going to come up on April 7th to 10th. And I'm not optimistic about what happens after that, because if they can stop a petition, can they stop an actual question? Which Danielle Smith could say, we get the question, but it could end up in court as well. And that frightens me. And, I've read the Clarity Act went right through it. And the Clarity Act isn't very clear on all of this process either, if you read through it. So it frightens me a little bit. And all we want is a chance to say yes or no and let the people decide. So hopefully we get a lot of signatures and it can't be denied. That's what we really need. And that's really what Marty wants and everybody else wants as well.
If a judge approves this injunction next week or next month, wow, okay, perfect. Thank you for doing that. Then two things happen. First of all, I wish I had a petition sheet. I don't have one close by, but instead of using their petition sheets next week, if there's an injunction, I would encourage every Albertan to continue collecting signatures on a blank sheet of paper. Okay, so I won't do it under the Clarity Act. I'll just do it as a citizen. Are they going to stop me from collecting signatures? And imagine we show up at the legislature with 1 million. Yeah, instead of using their form, if the judge says I can't use that form, I'll continue collecting signatures without a badge and without their form. Done. So I'll tell all 7,000 canvassers, turn in your badge, but keep doing what you're doing, and let's get 1 million signatures and bring them to the legislature. And I'll challenge Danielle Smith or any other politician to ignore our signatures just because the judge said so. So here you go. Here's 1 million signature. And if Danielle chooses to ignore that and the judge is silly enough to pass that injunction, then I will say to Danielle Smith, good luck. Thank you for having done what you've done so far. We don't need you. We're going to elect. We're going to replace all your MLAs with independence supporting MLAs like Quebec does. We'll have a separatist party in this province, and we'll take a different channel. In fact, I think that if there is, I'm going to be on the record as saying this, if there is an injunction and it kind of slows us down a little bit, I think that's kind of a good thing, because I'm not entirely sure we're ready to go and hold a referendum right now. We haven't won over enough people. So I would take advantage of the injunction as just more proof that the system is rigged against us and we need to completely adjust. And yeah, I'm not even scared of the injunction at this point. I think a judge who's silly enough to approve it would be doing us a huge favor.
So before we jump over to the private section, we'll be leaving the public in a year. I just wanted to touch on the First Nations chiefs. And I would be very clear about this, the chiefs, because I've seen and heard from a lot of First Nation Treaty Indians that say, I want to sign this. I want to have this vote. So why are the chiefs pulling out all stops? They're going to the Alberta courts. They're going to the legislature. They're flying over the pond to talk to the king and say, hey, look, let's try and get this to stop. What are they so worried about? Are they worried about finding out the truth, that their people actually don't support them and they actually want to get out of the Indian Act? They want to get out of these treaties and they want self-determination to be treated like everybody else. I think, in my mind, that's what they know. They know that answer already. This is why they want to stop even the question being asked. John?
I found it fascinating when they went over to King Charles and they looked for help from the colonizer king who stole their land. I couldn't believe it when I saw that. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? You know, I remember, I think Queen Elizabeth, did she not come over here to talk to them not long ago? My memory's not as good as it used to be. And, you know, and apologize for, you know, past grievances and things like that. But I couldn't believe seeing them standing there, that they were standing with King Charles, who's not going to really do much about this. I think he's got more concerns with his brother Andrew at this point, but that really blew my mind. That blew my mind when I saw that. Couldn't believe it.
And to be clear, there was 2 Alberta chiefs. One second, Marty, we're going right to you next.
Yeah.
There was 2 Alberta chiefs and 3 from Saskatchewan that went over there to speak to the chief. Or to speak to the colonizer, the main colonizer. Go ahead, Marty.
King Charles came to Canada in May 2025 to read the throne speech from the Senate, because he's not a commoner, so he can't go sit in the House of Commons. So he sits in the Senate, he reads it there, and he invites the commoners to the Senate. And then King Charles opened the throne speech with a land acknowledgement, basically mocking the First Nations, but everybody applauded him. I'm like, come on, folks. Like, yes, I don't know what to make of this. This is it's money. It's all money for the if you, anybody who knows, you guys know this. I mean, I think you were talking about it before we jumped on. It's systemic racism. It's systemic discrimination. The Indian Act is a really terrible piece of legislation, but there is one very specific group that benefits from it, and that's the what do they call them? Not the ancestral chiefs, but the hereditary chiefs are the ones who benefit, and the councils that get elected. I mean, we used to be able to see the finances of bands, and a typical band like the one that's protesting right now up at Sturgeon gets like a, you know, $25-30 million a year for a band of 1,500 members. And if you look at where the money's going, it's going to council and a handful of people, and then just a pittance is handed down to the poor individual members. Like it's the leadership of the Indian nation trying to protect what they have right now, nothing else. And they're fighting hard.
They certainly are. And I don't know, maybe they wanted a little piece of that UNDRIP stuff that's coming through BC with DRIPA. Maybe they want to evict people from their properties like they're doing in Vancouver. Who knows what they have on a long-term vision. But I can see why the First Nations elite are fighting against it, and everybody else is ready to vote for it. So before we leave, guys, we're not leave the show. We're going to bring you over to our private section. But before we leave the public side, do you have any last messages, John? And then I'll come to you, Marty, to Albertans.
Well, from me, I'm really excited about things. I went out yesterday. I've got some family members in town, and we drove down southwest of Calgary, down 66 Highway over to Elbow Falls. And as I was going out, I see the people on the side of the road. And I saw a couple of people sitting with their flags, and they were collecting signatures. So I said to my wife and my mother-in-law and my wife's aunt, I said, hang on a second, I need to go over and say hi to them. So I went over, I shook their hands, and I said, thank you very much for being here. And I said, how busy are you? He says, kind of not a great day, but we've got 7 or 8 signatures, a little bit at a time. So we go down the road and we head over to Elbow Falls, and it was a great place to be, to have a petition signing, because lots of people are at Elbow Falls. And I saw them sitting there, and I said, can I go talk to them? I went over, and there was an elderly man and an elderly woman sitting there. A couple of people had just signed the petition, and they both told me they have 840 signatures each.
Wow.
Yeah, remarkable, really remarkable. They're out there all the time. People tell me they're out there 2-3 days a week. And it really excites me. You know, people come up to me. I'm a YouTuber. I do what I can. I talk to people from the movement. I'm very much a homebody. They say, thanks for all you do. And I say, you know, I do a little bit. You know, Marty's out there on the road more than I am. I said, I do my little bit. But if we all do a small bit, it becomes a very big thing. And that's what I'm excited about. I actually got a text from Corey Morgan yesterday afternoon. He lives in the Pritis area. He said, I just talked to the people in Pritis, and they said you were by here. And he said, hey, sorry, I missed you. But he was all around town yesterday visiting some of these places. So that's my message. Keep at it. The thing is here, If this does go until May 2nd, there's about 6 months to come. Marty mentioned earlier on, he tries to have some fun. I think that's important. I think it's important we have some fun. I had a bouncy castle day a few weeks ago, met Mr. Alberta with the mask the other day. He's having some fun with this. We need to keep this fun to keep people excited because it's a long haul and the big battle is coming. We talked about the people who are joining up. You've got Nenshi with Jason Kenney, with Danielle Smith, with Pierre Poilievre. The real battle is coming. If you think this is something, it's going to be amazing once we actually get a question on a ballot. So that's my message, I guess.
I like that a lot. Have some fun with this too. Marty?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my message is similar to John's. I mean, I think there's a bunch of people that maybe in their mind thought that this was going to happen real quick overnight and we'd become separate and everything's good. I mean, there's been separatist movements almost every generation in this province for the last 100 years. This one just happens to be one of the bigger ones that's taking a lot of root, and let's keep it alive and let's not be worried about events like the injunction and things like that. There's going to be, I said this months and months ago, the other side is going to keep pushing back and fighting because they know, and the other side is a very elitist group, right? So the elite in Eastern Canada know that if we leave, that's a real threat. So they haven't even began to fight us. So be prepared for the battle and don't get discouraged. And because it's not going to, there will be, I think we will be an independent nation, but it's going to take a little bit of time. That's all. So keep, and let's have fun doing it.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
So looking forward to hanging out with you for the next week, Marty. You're the bassist. I'm just a background singer, and I hope we have a good time on this little tour of ours. Hang out with both of you guys. We're going to be right with you with our subscribers. We're going to say goodbye to the public just now. So hang out, okay? Okay, I like that. That's fun. I really like bringing other people, have their own shows, have their own conversations and their own audience on, because you get a nice, good perspective from them. Both of them have been on the road talking to real people out there. And I think this is why they're pushing so hard now, the other side. They're seeing that map of Alberta with all the little signing locations, and they're seeing some in the States, down all the way to Mexico, where signatures are being collected. They did not see that happen during the Forever Canada campaign at all. So I think they absolutely understand this is a real deal. This is really happening.
No, it certainly is. And yes, it's completely true that we're seeing who's going to be buddying up and the interesting bedfellows that appear. And again, people are now going to be starting to show their true colors on what side they're really on.
Well, when we saw Harper and Chrétien take the stage and say, hey, let's unify, like two birds, one or two wings of the same bird, is what you're seeing right there. So yeah.
And independent Alberta and a united Canada.
Yeah. Well, she'll be on in a couple of weeks. We've got the okay from her team again, so her third appearance. And this one's about the referendum question she's proposed and brought forward. I think there's a big, strong push within her party and in Alberta. You don't need to ask; just do those. Yeah, get those done.
Exactly.
Get started now.
But everyone, thank you very much for joining us. We are back this week. We look forward to seeing you. So you can go ahead, like, subscribe, share out. And of course, you can become a supporter and join us for the second part of the conversation we're going to have with John and Marty right now. And also looking forward to seeing you in Drumheller tonight. And it'll be also, we'll be seeing you in Leduc tomorrow.
Red Deer on Wednesday, Calgary on Thursday, and Lethbridge on Friday. You can go to levineshow.com to get more of those details. Start times are 6 p.m. tomorrow, 7 p.m. all other days.
6 p.m. tonight.
6 p.m. tonight. That's right. Wow, days go by. But you'll come see us on tour. So come check that out, and looking forward to seeing you all. Everybody, have yourself a wonderful day. Get out there and sign if you haven't done so. No matter what side of the equation you're on, go sign. Let's have our voice. Let's be democratic about this. And let's get this done.
Yepers.
Take care, everybody. Love you all, and God bless.